What is that? Roadster. Alright guys, don't forget to subscribe, like this, take 5 seconds out of your life and watch my ads. Click that little bell to get notifications. If you want to support the channel, those are the best ways. Share this maybe. The new Indian FTR1200 is out. Actually, I don't know if it's out. I know my local dealer has one. So I'm probably gonna go up there and get a look at it pretty soon. They don't have the cool model, you know, the S model or whatever it is, the race replica, which is the only one I would want. And I have been interested in that bike since I first heard it was coming out. It looks awesome. I hear it's a hoot to ride. And I was actually hoping to buy one. But you know, comes out and the model I want is close to $20,000. And I'm a firm believer that you shouldn't really pay more than 12 or so thousand for a motorcycle. It just isn't really worth it. Like it's just too much money for what you get with the motorcycle. I don't care how much technology or performance there is. You know, something like an H2R, I understand that being so expensive. So maybe they're gonna depreciate like a rock, sink like a rock, I should say, value-wise, and then they'll be reasonable to buy. But I have the XR1200, which is pretty much the same thing. It's just Harley Davidson's version that was put out 10 years earlier than that. So let's give a little comparison. Looks wise, I think the XR1200 looks awesome. The FTR1200, it's got that exposed frame. It looks very cool. They look cool in different ways. This looks kind of retro cool. That looks just cool. I'd have to say I probably like the looks of the FTR better. The sad thing is that that bike's going to be super popular. If Harley would have put this bike out at a different time, like the past couple years, it would have been super popular. But this thing was out for 3 years in the US, and it only sold 11,000 total bikes. So it's kind of hard to come by, kind of hard to find. You can find them for fairly cheap. Very cheap compared to the FTR. What I'm hoping and what I'm expecting is that the FTR is going to renew interest in flat trackers, and the prices on these suckers are going to go way up. I'm not banking on that, but I expect that's going to happen. It's already been happening the past year. The prices on these things are going up. And it's a good bike. Performance-wise, yeah, this is a 10-year-older bike, and it's a Harley Davidson. They don't exactly make their bikes performance bikes, even their performance-based bikes like this. So the suspension is gonna be better on the FTR. The power, gonna be better on the FTR. But the thing is, you can buy an FTR for what, $14,000 to $18,000. And you get like 120 horsepower, 87-ish foot-pounds of torque, which is nice. This thing has close to 80 foot-pounds of torque, and it has about 90 horsepower. With a couple of mods, yeah, it's going to be expensive because parts for these are expensive. You can meet the performance of the FTR quite easily. Even the suspension, you can get the upgraded suspension, and you're going to be right on par with it. It's still going to be a little slower, even with the same exact horsepower and torque, because this is heavier. This is 100 or more pounds heavier than the FTR. But still, you can get this up to pretty much equal for a few $1,000s, maybe even a couple $1,000s. And still you will have, if you buy one pretty soon, you will have only spent less than $10,000 total on this, whereas you're going to spend pretty close to $20,000 on that sucker. I used to work at an Indian dealership. I'm kind of iffy about I would be kind of iffy about buying an Indian because of what they did to Victory. Polaris, they just dropped Victory, and I had tons of people come in try to get parts for their Victory, and they're really hard to come by these days. They didn't only drop the brand, but they dropped all support for it. The only parts you can get from the dealership are parts they share with Indians, which are a decent amount for some models, like the Octane and the Scout are basically the same thing. So performance goes to the FTR, but value for performance goes to Harley. And if you think Harley parts are expensive, you haven't looked into Indian, because they are just as expensive for parts and labor and all that crap. It's the same business model. Like I said, the Indian looks better, but cool factor, it's gotta be the Harley. You just feel so cool riding a Harley. I mean, anybody who's ridden a Harley, a Sportster at least, you know. Oh great, stuck behind a tractor. Gotta love living in the Midwest. I don't think it should be legal to drive tractors on the road. It is a hindrance to all of us. Technology-wise, again, the Indian is gonna take it. Of course, this is a Harley. It has no technology, and also it's a 10-year-old bike. From what I've seen, seating position is pretty much exactly the same. Ride style, it's a flat tracker, so it's gonna be the same. Ease of maintenance, the Harley's gonna have it hands down. Harleys are the easiest bike to work on. You don't have to work around that frame and everything. It looks like it might be a little bit of a hassle to work on the FTR. Character. I've ridden a couple of Indians, and they have a V-twin, but it's nothing like the Harley V-twin, and they don't sound anything like Harleys. And Harleys, they've got a lot of character. Their vibration is really something else. Their sound is different from anything else, as long as you don't make it obnoxiously loud like so many people do. Then it just sounds, come on guys, there's a very bold line between sounding good and just sounding obnoxious, and for some reason you people are easily going right over that line. So you're going to get a lot more character, and it's going to be, if you don't like character, then go for the Indian, but the Harley's going to sound better, even with that Acropovic exhaust. The Harley's going to sound cooler, it's going to feel cooler, it's got nice rumble to it. The Indians are just a little more refined, I guess, and since they're tuned for power, it's not gonna sound as great and it's not gonna feel as great. Whereas the Harley is basically tuned for that sound specifically. Even this, which is one of the main reasons the power output is so much lower than it should be on these things. This thing, it's got some power, it's pretty quick, it's pretty fun. It'll probably lift the front wheel up if you try. Haven't tried it yet. It really wants to though. The Indian, everything I've seen, you barely blip that throttle and that wheel's up. And so you might think about that. If you're not like a crazy rider, it could be a lot more dangerous on that, and also it could get you in a lot more trouble speed-wise. And hooliganism-wise, if you can't really control yourself, that bike will 100% get you into some trouble. And also possibly into some bodily harm, because, like I said, it's a lot of bike, and it's inherently more dangerous even if you have the safety features. Safety features don't always work, and a lot of people that are gonna get themselves into trouble like that aren't gonna have the safety features on anyway. So that's just another thing to consider. There's a lot of bikes that are plenty, and then there's a lot of bikes that are also too much. Nice job, dickbag. And a lot of people only go for those bikes that are way too much. And that's fine. It's America. You can do what you want. But I think a lot of people also end up regretting that when they're dead or wrecked. So would I buy the FTR over the XR1200 if I could do it all again now that the FTR is out? No, I'd buy the Harley every time. Unless the FTR depreciates enough so that it's a buy that's worth it to me, I'd go the XR every time. And even if it did depreciate, so that a used one is a pretty good deal, I'd still have a really hard time deciding. But maybe you don't have to decide, because Revzilla is giving one away. You better go to their website and sign up fast.